Help, I need some ideas. Hi, I'm Louise from OTGrow, and welcome to our channel. So, if group therapy is a passion of yours, or if it's a calling, then you're in the right place. So, here at the OTGrow channel, we discuss tips, tools, and techniques how to make your group therapy even more impactful. And we also look at interviewing some people and growing in wisdom around group therapy. So today I thought we would discuss a little bit about if you need ideas, especially when you are applying the interactive group model, where do you come up with ideas? So people are often very daunted when they start planning their group and have no idea where to go for some ideas. So I thought I would take you through a process that you might consider next time you're stuck for an idea. All right. So in the interactive group model, because activities is so core to either the warm-up being very impactful and leading us with a theme into the main activity and clarifying the goal of the group, or alternatively, when we are wanting to select activities that will really reach the goal, that by the time that the clients are finished with the activity, the goal has been reached. So that activity becomes so core in the interactive group model because it's only after that the goal has been reached through the activity that we then only have a discussion and we don't still need to unpack a goal by itself. All right, so we're going to have a look at places where you can get ideas and how you can go about taking one idea and formulating it into different warm-ups. So the first place where you can get a lot of ideas is in the OTGrow Bumper Activity Book. Those of you that don't have it yet, reach out to Heather at our otgrow@gmail.com email address to order your copy. So we have 100 activities and warm-ups in there, and it's often linked to very specific goals. But if for some reason a goal is not in our bumper activity book, or you don't have your bumper activity book yet, then where do you go to get ideas? So I often tell people to go and have a look online. You can Google it, go and have a look at the games that is used at youth groups, at party games, go and have a look around at board games for ideas, even team building games and warm-ups. If you just type that into your Google, you will get a lot of ideas in those categories. But I think it's really important to realize there's very seldom any of these ideas that you can just take and immediately implement in your group therapy context, because our warm-ups need certain criteria. We need to have effective warm-up so that energy can be generated, which will carry the momentum for us in the group. And so there's seldom ones that really absolutely fit like a glove for our criterion. However, it's important to at least have a starting point and have a look at some ideas, and then you can adapt them or adjust them, bring an element into your warm-up. So maybe for those of you that are interested, we'll have an online series around warm-ups in the beginning of next year. So keep your eyes and ears open for that to be launched in the beginning of next year. And then second of all, also as activities, how do I make sure that whatever my goal is, this idea that I've got, this board game, this team building that I saw, how can I adjust it that to make sure that it actually reaches the goal that I have in mind for my group? All right, so I thought I would show you or take you through the process as you find some ideas out there. So the first consideration to have is to say, if I'm going to be using this idea, what is the theoretical foundation I'm using? What can I use as a foundation? Where do I go and find the theory in terms of then how do I use this activity with the theory to be able to reach something specific that I have in mind? And if it sounds a little overwhelming, I'm going to take you through the steps in a minute. Also, when we're talking about group therapy, our main concern is how can I include all the group members at the same time? And is there an element of interaction? And if there's not an element of interaction in the idea that you have found, how can you bring possibly an interaction into that? Also, how can you adapt this idea or this game that you have found so that you can also facilitate a group dynamic? So these are considerations that we have, especially when we are selecting something for a main activity. Also, how can I make sure that I reach my goal or the criteria of the warm-up? All right, so I thought today I would take the board game of Dixit. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. A wonderful board game, lots of fun for families. But if you have a look at it, it's really not conducive to group therapy and what we're trying to achieve in the interactive group model to just use Dixit as is. And so we have to think about, okay, how do we adapt it? So those of you that don't know Dixit, it's a board game. I'm not going to go into the details how it is described and played because one thing, it has strong competition in, which we know is not good for our cohesion. It's individualistic, so that's also not conducive for interaction necessarily and for our cohesion and for group dynamics to be facilitated. And the game as such has minimal interaction. So we can't just use the board game Dixit as is. So we need to look at ways that we can possibly adapt it. Now, I want to just put in a disclaimer here. I am not at all linked to Dixit. I am not going to get any kickbacks from this. I just love the game, and I wanted to give you some ideas how we adapt something that we have found, like this board game, into a totally different new activity that will suit us for our group. All right, so one of the things about Dixit is the most amazing cards that's almost surreal. I don't know if you can see these. They have these pictures that are really amazing and just remembering the copyright, so not to reproduce these, but rather to go out and get the game if you want to, or to do something similar. All right, so these are great cards. So how can we use this? Well, one of the obvious ones to use it is to use it in your check-in. So maybe if you have an in-person group, everybody can pick a card. You can put a whole lot of them out on the floor and you can ask, pick up the card that most represents how you're feeling today and tell us how you're feeling. And maybe somebody is going to pick up a card like this and just saying, oh, today my heart is feeling warm with love. I had something really special happen to me. So that might be one. Or they might interpret differently and say, today it really felt like my emotions was burning me up. I didn't know what was going on. So that's what makes the Dixit card so wonderful. It's open to so many interpretations. So that's one way we can use it. We can use it so people can check in with it and we can meet them on the emotional level. All right, so how else can we use it? If we go on to warm-ups, let's think a little bit. How can we use the Dixit for some warm-up ideas? Well, if you do psychodrama, maybe again, somebody chooses one of the cards in psychodrama, and then you can ask them to become the object in the card, whether it is a tree or whether it is a person or whether it's something much more surreal. Yes, here we go. You can ask them then to become that, and they can walk around, they can interact with each other as these objects or these persons, keeping in the role of whatever it is that is on the card. And then people can start going around asking people questions. What exactly are you? Where are you going? What are your concerns of the day? What is something that you want to explore further as this person or this tree or whatever the case may be? And that could eventually go into somebody's psychodrama. So that's one idea how we can use Dixit with these wonderful cards. Another way we can do it is maybe you want to do something around labeling or making assumptions. And everybody, you can put all the cards out and everybody can be asked to pick one card in making an assumption or labeling somebody. And so maybe I'm going to label somebody as, let's see if we can find something here. Maybe I'm going to label somebody as a puppet. And again, it can be open to any interpretation. So I go around and for everybody in the group, I might choose a card that would label or make an assumption of them. And then from there, we can have a look at what were the labels and how did the person who was labeled feel about being called a puppet. And that can take us into how do we try to prevent the concept of being labeled and how do we deal with people labeling us. So maybe that's a group that we have. Or maybe we can have something else. What about a group on making something from nothing or making lemonade when life gives you lemons? So it has the same undertone. We want to have an activity where there's a bit of movement. So maybe I'm going to put the cards on a table. I'm going to line up the group, divide them in two, and almost like tag, everybody has to run, go to the table, pick a card quickly, run back to their group, tag the next person. And so almost intuitively and quickly, people will just grab cards. And once everybody in the group is back at the group and they've gotten all their cards, they then have to tell a story. So it's going to lead us into the theme of making something out of nothing. Or when we are left with a deck of hands in our cards that we feel we can't play in our life. And then our main activity will explore that in more detail. So here's a whole lot of different ways how we can use these cards for warm-ups. All right. So how can we use these cards for a main activity? So in the Creativity As series, I was talking about how we can use creativity and tap in creativity in terms of the group wisdom. How can we use the Dixit cards to be able to find out in more detail what is the wisdom of the group? And here our theoretical foundation that we're going to be using is Jung. So Jung says that we can access wisdom that lies in the unconscious through storytelling, through symbols, through colors, through movement. And because these cards are so surreal, they really tap in so well into Jungian's ideas of storytelling, or when things don't necessarily make sense, or it's hard for us just to do an activity that is mind-based. All right, so we're going to select everybody again, almost similarly to what we had for our labeling, but now we're going to use a different, and we're going to use it in the main activity. Everybody must pick a card that they feel intuitively belongs to the person in the group. Can you see my instruction differs? So intuitively, what do you think is the card? Who in the group does this card belong to? And everybody in the group gets to give everybody else in the group a card as well. And then after they've done that, they have to intuitively pick a card that belongs to the group. So at the end of the day, everybody has their own set of cards and there are a set of cards for the group. Now the group members can be asked to tell a story with their own cards. So maybe I was given these 4 cards. And so I'm going to tell a story. One day there was a muse, and she believed that she was destined for things bigger than just making sure ships arrive safely home, and that she was destined for bigger things. And so she had to go on a timeless journey, searching for the answers. And so through this journey, she really experienced and became in touch with people that really had a heart for bigger things and welcomed her and set her heart on fire. And through that process, she found the music in herself. And at the end of the day, it wasn't that she needed to do something new. It was the way she needed to do something. All right, so there's just a story that I made up. Of course, we know that it's projective in nature, it holds wisdom, and if I had to unpack that story for myself, I'd most probably find a lot of wisdom that I need to tap in at this moment in my life. All right. So that's the storytelling for each person, then gets to tell the story in the group. And at the end of the day, the group members now start taking the group's cards. So look how we're facilitating a group dynamic, how we're facilitating interaction, and the group has to come up with a story. And maybe we really want to anchor the story and the wisdom that the story holds for group members that they can tap into, not only as individuals, but as a group dynamic going forward as a group. Some wisdom that almost needs to be broken open for the group. And then we can take it into a psychodrama where possibly each person in the group is either part of this journey or becomes one of the cards in this journey and explores where the psychodrama will take them. So can you see how from a couple of ideas of serial cards, we have come up with so many ways that we can use this in a group? So I hope this has ignited your creativity. I hope it's gotten your creative juices flowing. Please feel free to leave comments or questions for us in the comments below, and we'll get back to you. And until next time, happy facilitating.